Can you guys hear me okay now? Can you hear me?
Now I can hear you.
I don't know what happened there. Wow. Well, we're embracing imperfection right away. So, so let me reintroduce you, Silvia, here. So thanks so much for everyone for being here. In this live show, I interview incredible leaders who are trailblazing and pioneering for a better tomorrow in our homes, community, and globally. This live stream is part of the To Mom is to Love platform and focuses on different topics that I discuss in my upcoming book, To Mom is to Love, Pioneering a New Kind of Motherhood. And I am thrilled to have my incredible guest with me today, Silvia Adlesic Holmgren. And
Perfect.
oh, good. I'm glad I pronounced that right. Great. Thank you so much, Silvia. I absolutely adore you. And I want to introduce our audience to you and all the incredible work you're doing. Silvia is currently writing the Comeback Chronicles, From Bankruptcy to Opportunity. She is an entrepreneur, ex-CEO, gratitude ambassador, and a true trailblazer doing just such incredible work. So thanks so much for being here. And tell us about yourself and your incredible mission, Silvia.
Well, thank you. First of all, likewise, Valerie. I love what you do as well, and it's an honor to be on your podcast, on your live, all the way from Sweden.
All the way from Sweden.
All the way from Sweden, yeah.
I love how you live in Sweden. Sylvia and I had connected through our friend Kevin Monroe, and he introduced us. And when I first found out Sylvia was from Sweden, I just was fascinated because my family's from Norway. I've always been so fascinated with Scandinavia, and so I just love our chats. And we chat on WhatsApp, and we talk about just what we're grateful for. And I love that. I love just having people to talk about gratitude with, but you've become such an amazing friend where we just talk about, okay, what's our gratitude for the day? And I really look forward to it. And I would love to hear your thoughts on why is gratitude so important? And, what do you feel like the power of sharing gratitude with others is?
I think first of all, it's incredible that it's possible to actually feel this connection with someone else on the other side of, it's not a pond, but on the other side of the Atlantic. And we haven't even met live yet, which is quite interesting. I think that's sort of where the whole thing with gratitude, or to me at least, where it starts. Gratitude has become, I would say, some sort of anchor in my life. And it's been there for quite some time, although I haven't necessarily branded it as gratitude. I haven't understood that it's gratitude that I'm sort of doing. And I'll tell you more about that because I also come from Croatia. So my parents are Croatian, and it's a totally different culture where there's war every 50 years, and people are happier than anyone in the Western world, or what we consider the West world. And that has always fascinated me, that you can be poor, you can go through war, but you're still grateful for what you have. You're grateful that you're alive. You're grateful that you actually have food on the table. And when my children were born 12 and 9 years ago, and they started to talk, at bedtime every night, we talked about what was the best thing that happened today. And over time, I've understood that this is actually practicing gratitude. And then about a year ago, I got to know Kevin Monroe and participated in the first gratitude circles that he hosts every month. And that's where you and I met. And I think gratitude for me it's a way of life, I would say. You really have to practice gratitude to understand what happens to you, or what it makes to you. You become more humble. Your problems or challenges don't disappear, but you just handle them in a different way, or you see them in a different way, I would say.
Absolutely. I think that's so true and so spot on that. And I don't think I labeled when I started practicing gratitude as a gratitude practice. It just seemed like I almost like it was a different, putting on a different set of glasses of like, I can think one way, but I also, let me try to think a different way. But what am I, and I guess making the what am I grateful list. I used to do that like at nighttime. Like I would think like, okay, what am I grateful for that happened today? Which I love to do, but also like just throughout the day, being mindful, taking that pause. And I love everything that I need to give a shout out to Kevin Monroe. He's amazing. If y'all aren't connected with him, connect with him. He's awesome. Just a gratitude guru, and has so many events and lives. And it's just such a connector. And so Kevin had said, oh, Valerie, you'd love Silvia. And so it's very much, this is brought to you by Kevin Monroe. And, but also, I think it's important for me, when I really started understanding what gratitude was during hard times for me. When I was not grateful. I was not grateful for what was happening. But at the same time, when I got the control taken away from me, and this took some time and some practice, but that is when I felt like I was forced to understand what gratitude was, and ultimately felt the power of how that paradigm shift, how that new neuroplasticity of practicing gratitude can truly help and truly rewire your brain.
Yeah, it's scientifically proven, just like meditation is as well, and lots of other practices. I think for me, it's all about finding what works for you. Gratitude is simple to practice, and it's simple to once you're in it, it becomes part of you, I would say. You automatically attune your brain to actually notice all the small things that you can be grateful for, or that you can appreciate. Like here today, the sun is out in Stockholm finally. You see the small flowers in the park, and it makes you happy on the inside. And whereas, when you're in a stressful mode, you actually may miss that. So it's about, I guess, finding the opportunity to actually enjoy the small things, even when you are stressed, that you can allow yourself and your brain to notice the beauty around you, even if it's just for a second.
Absolutely. And I feel like when I'm more grateful, I can remember the moment more too. I don't know what it is about it, but for me, it just kind of puts it almost like a snapshot in time.
Yeah, very much so. I agree.
Yeah. Now, Silvia, I know it's gratitude practice is different, or can be different for different individuals. What are some ways that you practice gratitude with yourself and your family?
Well, with the girls, my husband, he's grateful for everything. Anyway, so we don't necessarily practice that much, him and I. But my girls and I, we definitely do it at nighttime, every night, actually. We also started a happiness jar at home where we write down whatever has made us happy for the day. It's not necessarily something that we do every day, but it's very good to end the day and the night with a positive thought, and also sort of setting the scene for the next day, thinking about what do we want, or how do we want to feel tomorrow. And I myself practice, I think I've come into a routine where I can't go to bed without writing down my gratitude list of what has happened during the day, or what I'm grateful for in life in general, and that has become my way of sort of summing up the day, closing the day, and going to bed at least happy, satisfied, whatever you want to call it. And I cannot go to bed without writing that list. And so there's a number of us sharing gratitude lists on WhatsApp with each other, which is because it makes you also happy reading other people's gratitude. And I think neuroscience tells us that actually being happy for someone else's gratitude makes you even more happy and grateful.
Isn't that amazing?
So it's a positive, it's a positive spiral.
I love that. A positive spiral. That's amazing. And
Yeah.
Jen here, our friend Jen here says, gratitude is a part of you. Yes, I know for me, it has been a journey of faith as well. Hard to be grateful without connecting. And so enlightening, Sylvia. I love that. Yes. And I agree. I think that I love this gratitude as a part of you. And it truly can be, as you're saying, like, you can't not do it now. Like, you've created gratitude pathways. And I think, there's this example that I feel like I hear a lot of, like, if you're running late in the car, like, and you're late to a meeting and you're in the car, you can be frustrated for being late, or you can just, use it as an opportunity to put a song on or enjoy, maybe it's a sunny day or maybe it's not, but just being mindful in the moment. Like, you can choose every opportunity in life. I feel like we have that moment of, am I going to choose to live right now in love, to be grateful for something, or to be in fear or in anger or in frustration? And I think for the longest time, I wanted to control everything. And if I didn't get what I wanted in that control, I would get frustrated. I would get anxious. And it just, once I realized that there's a different way of living and a more just joyful way of living, it was such a game changer. And I think it really helped fill my cup to be the person that, like, I am proud of and working on being proud of, because then I can just be, and I know that I'm enough. And it really has that ripple effect. It's almost like a spiral in myself, if that makes sense.
Yeah, very much so. I totally agree with you. You become sort of intoxicated with the gratitude.
Yes, it's so neat. And I think there's this difference, we talk about, like, well, there's the trend word of, like, toxic positivity and true gratitude. And, like, there is a difference of how do you say, like, what can I be grateful for in this moment? And it's not like pushing away. I think, or at least what I think of with toxic positivity, is pushing away feelings. Whatever that is that you want to feel. But I think gratitude's allowing those feelings, but also being, saying, like, giving myself that self-grace, but also saying, what can I be grateful? There's always something to be grateful for in this moment.
And I think this positive or toxic positivity, I mean, to me, it's really more being passive aggressive.
Yeah.
In a way, because you are suppressing, whatever is there and what you need to, I guess, handle or challenge or learn from, or whatever it can be. And I think gratitude is very much about accepting the situation and sometimes even yourself, as it is. And no one or nothing is perfect. And I think that's, you talk about your needing being controlled in your past life. And I think that's quite common with women in particular. In Swedish, we call it we actually call them princesses of success. So success princesses, and it's quite a lot about being, I guess, being courageous and to sort of cut some corners and actually prove to yourself that it doesn't really matter if you make a mistake or two, or if certain things aren't under your control. It can actually be quite nice if you can't control everything. And let sort of life control you instead.
Absolutely. I think that's so true. And Sylvia, What is coming to my mind right now is your artwork. You are a beautiful artist. I love seeing the paintings and the artwork that you produce. And I
Thank
think
you.
you're so welcome. And I think there's a lot of that in art, of embracing imperfection, or at least when I think of artwork, I think of different perspectives, but I also think of like, we talk about this like with my young kids of like coloring inside the line. Like, is this the right way? And it's like, well, there is no right or wrong way. It's just being, it's just creating art. It's creating beauty. And life isn't perfect. Like, there's so many colors, there's so many shades. And that's kind of what's coming to my mind right now.
Yeah, it's very much so. I mean, I actually hadn't painted for 25 years.
Oh my gosh.
And then so I picked it up, I think it was 18 months ago. And I really had to challenge myself to sort of dare to paint from my gut feeling or my intuition, because it wasn't perfect. And because it wasn't perfect, I actually ended up learning a lot of new techniques and a lot of other colors that I didn't even realize I loved. And also I painted stuff that I didn't even know that I knew how to paint.
Yes.
But it's about, it's like becoming mother for the first time. All of a sudden you lose all control and it's not about yourself anymore. And it's like, okay, well, this was something completely different. So I think that that's sort of the biggest game changer, which at least for me, it has helped not to be afraid of jumping into sort of the deep end of the pool of stuff or things or whatever I do, endeavors or companies or businesses. Yeah.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And for sure, like, yeah, once I became a mom, it was like, oh my gosh. Like, I mean, I say a lot of, I wanted to be an A+ mom and I studied for it. And then once I became a mom, it was like, I
And
didn't,
what is an A+ mom?
I know, right? Like, and then it depends who's examining me. What's the, like,
Exactly. Yeah.
and it's, yeah. So, and really that's, yeah. I'm like, the only thing I can control is love and my verb. And like, that's all I can control. I can't control what society, what is going to say my title is, what my, inner critic says, but I can't control love. I can't control, am I feeling grateful in this moment or not? Sometimes that's all I can do. And then honoring those feelings, like, even if it's not a good hour, being like, you know what, it's okay. Like, giving yourself that grace and permission to, we all make mistakes, and then admitting that and then growing. And I think, yeah. Now, Silvia, I would love to talk with you. You're writing a book as well, right? Like, I would love for you to share with us about that book. If you, just to learn more about that, I would love to hear like what you had said the title and all. If you can share that again, and like.
Well, the title is a working title, so I haven't decided yet if it's going to be in Swedish or not. But it's I call it the Comeback Chronicles, from bankruptcy to opportunity, and it's really about exploring stories of entrepreneurs who have faced failures of some sort, including bankruptcies, and their return, how they've come back much stronger. And I think from my own experience of going bankrupt with the business is that. Failure doesn't necessarily have to be the end of the story. It could be a turning point for something even greater, something totally different. And I think it's for me it's a really interesting cultural examination of how we in Scandinavia in particular view failures and bankruptcies, because we are in a business climate right now where it's never been as many bankruptcies as there are right now in Sweden. And it's, I mean, in the States, there's obviously even more because it's a larger country and many more businesses. But whereas in the US, and I'm sure it's not in every time and everywhere, but it's viewed as an important learning and experience, here in Sweden, people tend to sort of see it as a real failure, and don't necessarily know how to communicate with the entrepreneur, and the entrepreneur tends to go silent. And I think that, I got this idea actually from talking to some other entrepreneurs who have gone bankrupt. And I found it so interesting to see, okay, but they're not ruined as people, they're still standing up. No one is applauding them necessarily, but they're still sort of in some kind of fighting mode, and they want to come back in one way or another if they start a new company or whatever they might try to do. And that sort of drove me to exploring, what does resilience really mean, and how can we actually work with that power that we have within ourselves. So I've done quite a lot of research, obviously, on the field itself, and I have a psychologist who is with me on the project. I've interviewed 15 entrepreneurs, all with, I chose sort of the successful outcomes. There are, of course, entrepreneurs who don't come back stronger. But in this case, I really wanted to show that sort of the light at the end of the tunnel. We can all bounce back from hardships in life, even if it's a bankruptcy, or someone close to us passes away, or whatever it might be. We are built to last and to come back. And I think it's extremely interesting to listen to these individuals' various stories. And it doesn't really matter if you've had a small business or a business with lots of venture capital in it. It's all the same sort of mechanisms and processes that you go through. And I've also talked to a lot of investors and venture capitalists, and it's quite interesting to listen to them that, in their next investments, they're all looking for someone, an entrepreneur who has done at least one or two bankruptcies, because they know what it takes to actually build a business from scratch. So there's hope in that for me, hearing that. It's like, wow, that's incredible. Why don't we talk more about that, and openly, in particular in this country?
Absolutely. I think that's so true. And I think that, that whole growth mindset it makes me think of that, like, in just any area of life, and in particular in that area of, you have a success and then failure, but failure doesn't have to define you, and you can actually use that as, like, you can grow from that. And I think, I don't want to go on my nature tangents, because I do a lot, but I do think, like, just looking so much into nature, you can see that all around, like, storms, and even in the winter time, there's regrowth, there's strength in different ways, there's flexibility, there's resilience, and that should absolutely be the case for humans. And
I think sorry for interrupting. Yeah, go ahead.
ahead.
No, I just find it really interesting when you're talking about that with nature and everything, because I don't know what the lingo right now in the States is, but here we are sort of in between the States and Russia. And historically, we've sort of been in the middle, during the Cold War. And of course, the focus here, it's sort of settled down a little bit, but we have, for a time, basically been prepared for war. And of course, things happen to people, and they start thinking about that, and we're never going to survive a war. And and it's I'm not saying that I'm a war expert, but at least from my experience, from from my relatives down in Croatia and in Bosnia, it's like, well, yes, we will survive a war. It's the problem with the world right now is that there is too many of us who feel entitled, who think that they are entitled to to abundance, I would say. Everything, from money to safety to whatever it might be. And it's, I think having that sort of mindset, and, I can't judge, but it's just my personal sort of feelings or viewpoints that, being entitled doesn't necessarily make you very resilient. And I have no science to back it up, but
I think,
going through something really difficult is only good for everyone, because that strengthens you in one way or another.
Absolutely. I mean, I think that's so true. I think like two things with that is, I just did a half marathon a couple weeks ago, and just looking at, okay, how do I, reading all this recovery stuff and like, when can I start back running and all. I was obviously sore for a couple of days, and it all says like, you stressed your muscles, like your muscles are repairing. There's micro tears in them. You need to allow it to rest and all this stuff. But the fact that I had to stress my muscles to get to that goal, and then it will become stronger, but it causes, there is a stress. And I think that's so true with our minds, with resilience. We are stronger when we go, like the human mind, is designed for that. It's almost like, I don't know. I think also, like, to your point of entitlement, I would have to, I don't know of any studies either, but I just know from like history, I love history, and like just even looking at magazines and stuff from, there's advertisements of ease and all of this stuff of like, look how amazing life can be with ease, with refrigerators, with whatever that is. And we kind of went overboard in a sense, where it's like, and that callback to simplicity, I think, got lost. This gratitude, because if you look at 19th century stuff, like they talk more about gratitude, more about kindness. Not that they didn't later, but it was put in a way that I feel like we're just now getting back to, of that callback to that simplicity, and not that ease.
More and more, at least. Yeah.
Sorry,
I agree with you. Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, now, Silvia, I feel like I can talk with you all day. I absolutely love everything you're doing. And I would love for you to share with our listeners where they can find you, where they can connect with you, and anything else that you'd like to share with us today before we go.
Well, I'm really, really interested in connecting with other people out there that are doing a lot of growth work for themselves, gratitude, neuroscience, etc. So I'm on LinkedIn with my name, so it's Silvia Adlesic Holmgren. I think I would like to end with saying that embrace your setbacks. If you look at a baby learning to walk, they don't necessarily, or they don't judge that they can't walk. They just keep on doing it until they walk, and then they start running, and then et cetera, et cetera. And I think it's quite interesting what happens to us when we reach a certain age, when we start to judge others and ourselves, and we sort of stop learning from failure, whatever sort of failure it might be, if we're not being careful. So I think that, embrace your setbacks. They're not the end of your story. It could, on the contrary, be the beginning of something new or greater. It can take some time, of course. I've learned that time isn't necessarily linear. So for something that to ourselves can feel like forever, it might actually, in retrospect, be, just a bump on the road. Love your failures, embrace your setbacks, and learn from them.
I love that. Love your failures, embrace your setbacks, and learn from them. It's a beautiful message, Silvia. Well,
thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you to this amazing community, everyone who joined us today, and the comments. I just love you all. And again, make sure you reach out to Silvia if you have not already connected with her. She is amazing. And I just love connecting and sharing gratitude and also learning more about failure and the comebacks. It's incredible. So, Silvia, I just have one request for you. How do you say goodbye to all of us in Swedish?
Hej då. Tack och hej då. Thank you and goodbye.
Love it. Thank you so much. Well, have a good rest of your day.
Thank you, Valerie, for having me on your show. So proud.
Oh, thank you so much.
Thank you.